In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was. Wait, no. In the beginning, God created. Crap, no, not again. Wait, I think I have it. In the beginning, everything happened. For no reason, 4 billion years ago. And 2 billion years ago, Earth was created as a big ball of hot that took a billion years to cool, and then life evolved from chance and no ozone to keep them from being destroyed, and then ozone came to keep them alive out of coincidence. And of course, fish need water, so let's just place it. Chance it to be there. Then a fish became a reptile, and suddenly dinosaurs appeared. But then they disappeared, and then 14,000 years of humans not talking, and that's how human history started. Sorry about my little story. But, as a British person would say it, that is rubbish. This is my first video on atheism, and I will be talking about topics such as the Big Bang Theory, eternal universe, and life starting from scratch, so I hope you enjoy. Basic Big Bang Theory can hold two assumptions. Nothing created everything, and the universe already existed. The assumption that the universe was created by nothing is just plainly illogical. And before someone quotes about how in quantum physics, when you have nothing, you always have something, we need to find nothing, which kind of sounds stupid. Well, it is stupid, but as Google states it, not anything. No single thing. Now, here's how I state it: the absence of anything, no matter or time or space. This doesn't make any sense to think that nothing could hold something if you use a quantum physics definition, because their idea holds the theory of relativity to make anything exist in a fabric. Well, that doesn't exist in nothing unless you've got multiple universes to bend this idea around, which is string theory, which is also trying to explain quantum gravity too. But basing nothing as having something is just theoretical and maybe even philosophical. So, nothing creating everything is an illogical thought. So if there's no evidential argument for nothing creating everything, then an eternal universe would have to be the next best thing. Which, I would have to admit, has some pretty good evidence, but at the same time, there are a bit of flaws. But first, let's just go through eternal universe. The basics of the eternal universe comes from the idea of a singularity, which is the universe, that heated up and spun really fast until it expanded rapidly due to hydrogen and helium fusion, and an explosion, which the Big Bang would come from the high levels of velocity and the centripetal force. And this point, that is the universe, would have to be so small that if you pinched your fingers, it would still be smaller than that. And the thing is that this would work with the ideas of quantum physics, because the statement of nothing, or the tiniest singularity, would actually be something, and since fusion is the only exception to the law of conservation of mass, the theory would work. If the evidence actually matched the theory. This theory is flawed by the existence of galaxies and hydrogen conservation. Galaxies are only systems held by clusters of stars, and since these galaxies have to have been created along with the rapid expansion by fusion, then this is the most improbable thing to come from an eternal universe that expanded with centripetal force, while expanding with fusion. It's like if every person on the planet were to land in the same spot if the Earth stopped for 1 second. It just does not make any sense. Unless you are actually connected and have inelastic collisions, then it would make sense. But, well, it's still very improbable that maybe 100 people would come into a group at the same exact time, if you're going like 100,000 kilometers per hour. Also, the conservation of hydrogen over time has not been the same as 1,000 years ago. At that point, the hydrogen was less than today, because the universe utilizes fusion, so there had to have been a point of where it started. But it would mean that if you agree with the eternal universe, then that means you believe that hydrogen at such a tiny amount would manage to expand the universe when it had no appreciable mass 4 billion years ago, therefore causing the problem of causation with eternal universe, and it proves a starting point. Now, let's move on to the next point of interest: the beginning of life. Once upon a time, a scientist named Alexander Oparin created life in the lab, in the Miller-Urey experiment, and disproved God. Wait, that isn't right. Let's take a look at the Miller-Urey experiment in depth. The creation of living material in the Miller-Urey experiment involved electrodes to create a spark in a container of water vapor, methane gas, ammonia gas, and hydrogen gas. The container is sealed from the atmosphere because life is not sustainable under ozone in that state. This would be able to work if under those conditions, but it's unrealistic. Life is sustained when stable by breathing within an ozone layer, because ozone protects from UV lights, or UV rays. And since ozone is not utilized in the experiment, then the ammonia would be destroyed by UV lights if we were in realistic situations. Then, the next idea for this would have to come from having the spark, but the living material would have to land in water, because water protects from UV lights. But there's only one problem. Water is also protected by ozone. When you go into the water and you're underneath it, then you're protected from UV rays, giving you sunburn and all that. But if there wasn't ozone, there wouldn't be any water if there wasn't any ozone, there wouldn't be any water. So sparking it would not make any sense. But tell me what you think. And remember, this is my first video on atheism, so I hope you enjoyed it. God bless you. See you in the next video.